I'm going to follow up on some character stuff in a moment, but there's one thing I had to say because it was baked into so many of your answers. I've been following the two of you and your work for so many years now, and time again, I hear about your team emphasizing what great leaders you are, and that trickle-down effect is so real and it's so important, and we need more leaders like the two of you in this industry. So I hope you hear all of that and know how important it is. Sincerely. Another cast question. Kimberly, I'm gonna force you to start because you did kind of teeter into this a little bit. I want to make sure to tease everybody's character just to like set the scene for the audience right now. You probably don't have to answer the first part of this, but I would love to know the back half. For each of you, can you explain why your character is in Derry at the beginning of the show? And then also tell us what their greatest fear is, the thing that makes them most susceptible to Pennywise's power.
Great, so my character, Rose, who remembers chapter 2 when Stephen King shows up in his cameo? It's one of my favorite moments in the It movies. And he shows up in a store called Secondhand Rose. I am Rose. And it's so perfectly placed because Rose is the keeper of memories. There's an entire backstory I created for myself. Indigenous people believe all life is sacred. So everyone that is in our circle, we see ourselves as stewards of that life. And so we're there to protect and to carry the knowledge of how we maintain our connection. So even having the things of the people in this town, this is Rose's third cycle with this creature. And so she is just the knowledge keeper watching everything come as this third cycle begins. So Rose is going to be there. You're going to see her and kind of get a sense that as long as Rose is in the room, we got a shot. We got a shot world against this thing. And not because of her. It's the earned wisdom of her ancestors. And they're just following through that duty. Her greatest fear is that it would go south on her watch. My cohort, my companion here is General Shaw, is considered the tip of the spear, you know, for this, the most powerful military on the face of the earth. Well, Rose is the tip of the spear for the spiritual power of the earth. And what's kind of just maintaining kind of as much status quo as we can, as much peace as we can. So her greatest fear is that something would happen on her watch and she would not be able to protect the world from this malevolent force.
All right, back down the line.
Oh my gosh. Well, Francis Shaw, before he was General Shaw, was a little kid who was basically just with his dad in Derry and had nobody to play with. And you know, he didn't have any money, and he meets this beautiful little indigenous girl selling lemonade. And he didn't have enough money, and he only had 3 cents. But she was kind enough to give him, you know, a lemonade in spite of her buddies taunting me, and you know, I guess there was something about her that was a beautiful indigenous little girl, and they fell in love instantly. Now, she had a knowledge that I didn't have, and that was like, she don't go in the woods. And in the woods, there's this creature, and I confronted it as a 9-year-old, and it shattered me. And she saved me from it. And then we spent this summer of love together as 9-year-olds can do. It was, you know, it was the Losers Club. It's running and jumping and playing and getting dirty and having fun and just falling in love completely, but without any of the entanglement of the post-adolescent stuff. And so then I was torn away. And I come back 50 years later, not as Francis Shaw, but as General Shaw. A guy who's essentially invulnerable. I've got this uniform with a chest full of medals and 3 stars on my shoulders, and I'm in charge of the Strategic Air Command of the Northeastern United States. Nobody's gonna fuck with me. And so to make a long story short, well, you know, no fucking wimps, right? To make a long story short, I feel that my character is drawn back to Derry. It's something that is out of my control. I'm drawn back to Derry by accepting this assignment, by being involved, even though I've forgotten it, and in large part. But it's in the fabric of my being, and I go to Rose to get the inside story on what this whole thing is. That I've always had this thing that this is a weapon, because this thing is the thing that shattered my psyche the most. It was the most terrifying experience of my life, and so we go through everything to arrive at trying to harness it as a weapon. And what that speaks to in terms of my fears as this character is the sense of the loss of control. General Shaw has to become very rigid. He has to be a leader, and he has to be warm, so that guys like Joe Vaughn, Hanlon, and Halloran can look up to him and want to follow him, much like Andy. And has to have a certain warmth, but he's also very, very rigid. And so the loss of control is the thing that is my greatest fear. And I'm fighting it the whole time. However, we do get to meet our fears, and so we'll see what happens if and when I meet that Pennywise guy. Because I wasn't afraid of him. I really liked him when I met him.
I play Hank Grogan, who runs the theater in Derry, and he's a projectionist. And in 1962, Black people didn't necessarily do, we live in a time now where you can actually follow your passion and, what's my purpose? But he found a job, I think that was a beautiful job for him, in that he got a chance to be around the townspeople. He knows, it's like certain jobs, right? As a projectionist, you see everybody in the town all the time. You see them in with their good ways, you see them with their children, you see everything. And he, like many of us, like myself, gets to escape from the world that he lives in by watching these incredible movies. And there's something about playing an ordinary person, because I do believe that through the ordinary, we see extraordinary things. And I believe that Hank represents that. In terms of fear, I would say love, or the lack thereof. I grew up in a family with my grandma, my mom, and my sister, and if those ties were ever broken, I would have been completely lost. And I do believe that he lives like that. And the extended community, which is his family in terms of the theater goers, are a part of his community. And so if he ever lost that, I think he might be lost.
The tease.
I'm sorry, I'm adjusting around my chair. This isn't the right dress for this kind of chair. Okay, I'm gonna do my best with laryngitis. I'm Charlotte Hanlon. I'm this guy's wife. I think if you were to kiki with Charlotte, she'd probably be like, I don't know why the hell I'm in Derry, but I am a dutiful wife, and this is what we're doing. I decided to marry a flyboy. We've been together since we were 14, and that's just what you do in 1962. You smile, you cook, but you have thoughts that you suppress, you have beliefs, you have opinions. Charlotte was marching we're from Shreveport, Louisiana. Charlotte was involved and has dreams, and she's a whole person, like everyone here. And I think in 1962, I think about my grandmother, who was born in the late 30s. What dreams died with people because of the year in which they were born, or where they were born, or what skin color they were born with. And so Charlotte very much loves being a wife and mother, but also has other interests and values helping people and contributing to society. I think what scares her is she has this sense, this sacral sense, that something is just not right. And ignoring that and something turning into something insane is very frightening. It's frightening to feel like you're losing your mind. It's frightening to feel hysterical and everyone around you be like, "Oh, we're good." Charlotte's like, "Are you sure we're good?" I don't think we're good. And obviously, being a mother, having a son, I am now a new mother, and now my heart lives outside of my chest. So I think that is very, very terrifying. Yeah.
The character that I play is Leroy Hanlon, as Taylor described, Flyboy. He is a United States Airman, a major. He's an officer. And it was really interesting or exciting for me to get to play him for a couple of reasons. One being that my father is also retired from the Air Force. And so getting a chance to play in some form a version of who I thought my father was as a child was really exciting for me. And also just getting to play a young black man who is exceptional. I got a chance to speak with we had a military advisor who described to me that during that time, to have a young black man as a major in the Air Force with the racial tension being apparent meant that he had to be an exceptional soldier. I mean, incredibly intelligent, driven. He's able to ignore he is absolutely going to face being a black man in the military with his white colleagues. And so I wanted to be able to play a representation of that. He is given the assignment by his General Shaw that would require him and his talents to move to Derry. So he is essentially the reason that the Hanlons are in Derry in the first place. He brings his wife and their son Will Hanlon to Derry, and I think he's in search of a better life for them. In the military, of course, you move quite a bit, but I think he's hoping that Derry is going to be the place that he can land and really build a foundation for a better life. As far as fear goes, I think Leroy has a very unique relationship with fear that I won't spoil. But if I could say that if he's afraid of anything, I think as dutiful as he is, and very headstrong and laser focused on his career, I think his biggest fear would perhaps be a scenario where he felt like he didn't take care of his family. Everything that he does with the intent of being the best dad and the best husband that he can. And if there's ever a situation where he loses control and his loved ones are in jeopardy, I think that's the most devastating thing that he could imagine happening.
I have to mention, sorry, Chris, it just came to my mind. You would do that every day. If I may say something, Chris. The first scene in It One after Georgie is killed is in a sheep farm where Mike Hanlon, a young Mike Hanlon, is talking to, is being actually talked to by his granddad, Leroy. It's funny because these two characters are played 27 years before by Jovan, and 27 years after by Isaiah there. So that's a connection for those of you who don't know yet. But it's, so the Hanlon family. I just have to say it. I don't know why. Let's go. Come on, Chris. Action.
Finally. Hello, my name is Chris Chalk. My character is Dick Halloran. Yeah, keep going. Oh, fucking do more. Okay, we don't have all the time. Relax. No, Dick is in Derry because Dick fucked up. And that's the truth. And you'll see the show and you'll get that. But Dick thinks all of these people are corny. He doesn't respect a single one of them. And that's the journey of Dick. Like, the Dick you know is super nice. Good luck with this, Dick. The thing that Dick fears, I think, is himself, because you know the history of Dick Halloran, and you're going to meet him at a stage where he has a different relationship with his internal self, with his spiritual world, and his biggest fear is himself and losing control. I mean, it's kind of like what James said, it's losing control, but from a completely different power dynamic. That's it, y'all.
Y'all want to see Chris in action?
I need to say one more.
Oh yeah, let's hear it.
A lot of the questions yesterday while we were doing the junket is how did Dick Halloran end up in the show? And the truth is that Dick Halloran is in the It book. So this was Steve, basically.
Meant to
It's true, when people ask that question, I go, you didn't read the book. You're not a big fan, are you?
Yes, but I'll tease. I wasn't quite expecting everything you do with that character in this show, and I'm so excited for you to get to see it all, but right now you're going to get to see a clip featuring Chris as Dick Halloran. Let's roll it.